working on the beater today, doing something that I've been wanting to do for a while. It's just my little beat around. Really nothing nice, cheap car. But I just wanted to do something different to it. So I've been wanting to put some coilovers on it, but just been waiting on the right reason to do it. The car runs and drives fine, but finally started getting some noise in the lower control arm bushings in the front. So it's a perfect time to go ahead and rebuild the front end. Perfect time to go ahead and throw some coilovers on there. So I picked up some Raceland Coilovers, and I also picked up front and rear camber kits. I'm still waiting on the coilovers. They should be in tomorrow. But so tonight I'm going to go ahead and get it torn down, and I'm going to show you how to get the old struts out. Also going to show you the camber kits we've got, and that way the car will be ready tomorrow when the struts come in. We'll go ahead and throw them on, and we'll be ready to go with this thing. Also, I'm also rebuilding the front suspension as well and steering, but I'm going to put that in a separate video. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to measure the car, the height of it, and then I'm going to jack it up and get on jack stands, pull the wheels off. I'm going to measure it that way we kind of know what we got before and after. Okay, so we are at 25 at the front. Say about 25 and a quarter on the rear. I'm going to go ahead and disconnect our outer tie rod to get that removed. So obviously we have to take our cotter pin out. Knock this loose. I usually wouldn't do it like this, but you know, if I'm going to be reusing it, but obviously this is getting replaced, so I really don't care if we mess the threads up. Okay, so that's off. I wouldn't usually beat on the threads like that, but we are putting new tie rods on as well, so you know, that's why I've done it that way. Okay, so got the outer off. Now, as you can see, I took the brake assembly off. That's not needed, just to put the coilovers on, but I'm taking everything apart because while I'm doing this, I'm also rebuilding the suspension. So really the only thing we need to take loose, you still have to take loose the brake line from this bracket. We'll bust these two loose, the outer, which we just done, and the bolts on the top, and this will come out without having to take this other stuff apart. Okay, 19 millimeters here on both sides. Kind of broke loose. Okay, now I'm going to be putting in, when we get to that point with the new coilovers, I'm going to be putting in a camber bolt kit as well, and then I'll be able to let us dial in our camber after we lower this car, because once we lower it, we're going to get some negative camber. But just for talking purposes here, when you got the stock strut, stock bolts, if you just bust them loose, there is, if you can see that, a minimal amount of camber adjustment with the stock setup. So I'd say probably like 0.3 degrees you can get. I'll just bust this loose and just sliding the spindle in and out with that little bit of play. Like I said, we're gonna need a lot more than that. So I've got offset bolts. I'll show you when we get to that point. So we got these bust loose. I'm gonna go ahead and take these, finish taking these out. And then we will take the top bolts out. Okay, so one thing, remember, once you've got these strut bolts out, there's nothing really holding this spindle from just flopping all the way over. So you want to make sure you don't want to let this overextend outwards, because if you're not careful, your CV joints in the axle can come loose. And if they come loose so far, a lot of times it's really hard to get them to go back into place without disassembling the joint, which is not fun, not something you want to do. So just be careful of not overextending it outwards. So up top here, we just got the 3 bolts holding the strut to the strut tower. Pop these loose. Should be able to drop these strut out. Last bolts out. Kind of swing this out the way. Pull the whole assembly out as one. Yep, so that's all involved. That's all that's involved in taking the strut out. So, only thing we gotta do is, when my new one's coming tomorrow, I think I'm gonna have to retain the top hats off the stock ones. I'll show you how to swap those out. We'll throw the new one in. I'll throw my camber kit in. I'll show you that as well. And the front will be buttoned up. Okay, so I'm about to start the disassembly on the rear. Well, it should be pretty simple. It should just be a couple of bolts holding the strut in from the inside and the trunk well. And then there's one holding it in down here at the bottom. See if you can see it. So, bolt holding it in right here. So break that bolt loose. A couple on the inside. I'm also changing this, I call this the upper control arm. And one of the reasons is whenever you lower a car, you typically get negative camber. So without correcting it, you'll wear the inside of your tires out and it'll just look really silly. But on a street car anyway. Now there is, on a performance car, race car, there is some performance advantage of some negative camber, but on a street car, tire life is more of a priority. Or if it's a serious street car, then you can have some compromise. But on this one, we're going for tire wear. So this is a replacement. Bolts in the exact same. You got to take loose your 2 bolts up top. 1 bolt here, this slides in. Difference is this one, you turn it and it lengthens or shortens. So obviously I put it up here whenever we do the alignment, set the camber. I'll lengthen it more than the factory one, and that will allow us to pull this spindle out and adjust any camber issues that we may have. So I'll go ahead and unbolt this while we're at it, and then we'll pull the strut out as well. While we're talking about rear camber kits, let's talk about this piece. This is a steel arm with stock style rubber bushings. This one is, I think, Dorman. I really like SPC products, but they're a little on the more expensive end. I got these for about half the price of SPCs. Moog also makes a good one. The Dorman ones like this are pretty decent as well. Like I said, I just got this because it was half the price. I caught them on sale. Bought these a while back before I even had really decided on lowering it. But you know, a lot of times you run into rear camber issues on Hondas, even with factory suspension. So good thing to have for the money. I see people, you don't want to go with like a cheap, I see a lot of people use an eBay one. And usually they're like a really cheesy aluminum, and they have really, really cheap, bad quality rubber bushings in them. So I just don't trust the strength of them, and I really don't trust the longevity of them is not going to be very good at all. So, you know, spend a little extra money, or if you're like me, I got both of these for like 70 bucks. So, really good deal. So, I don't want to turn around and do it again, or don't want something that's going to compromise any safety. So, all right. So I got this arm broke loose. Now I'm going to break loose the. I'll go ahead and take out the lower strut bolt. We'll go inside and undo the top ones, and we'll go ahead and see if we can pull the strut out. Use the old foot. Yeah. Get it loose. And the other side is welded, so you don't have to put a wrench on the other side. Okay, that's out. Okay, now we're here in the trunk. not much light. I'm gonna show you the best I can. It's pretty much really easy on this car because none of that stuff is really even secured. But just pull the carpet back. Yeah, 2 bolts holding it on this side, one on the back. So we can go ahead and yank those bolts out. The strut should fall out. Got enough of bolts out. So this thing should just drop on out of there. Got out this lower arm. There she goes. Easy as that. So now we're completely ready for our new strut to go right in, as well as our new adjustable upper camber arm. Okay, so we got our new coilovers in. These are from Raceland. These are the, I think the Ultimos or Optimo, I forgot. For this particular application, they had a basic, which was 400, or they had these, which was an upgrader, like 430. Read reviews supposed to be, I think a little bit of ride characteristics, things like that. But you know, for $30, it was worth it to me. Also, they had where you could, I think they, for like $69, you could buy the new strut hats, but I just wanted to retain mine just to save the money. But so what we're gonna have to do is disassemble our stock ones to get the upper hat off and move them over to these. So also these come with, no idea with the other one, but they came with 2 different perches up here. And this pretty much goes between the spring and your original top hat. They came with 2 different ones. Apparently there was some difference in the this particular Civic's, a change in after a particular production date. And according to the instructions and my car's date, it told me to use one of this, not this one, the other ring, but I tried it and it wouldn't work. So I ended up having to, I've already assembled one, ended up having to use the one that said it wouldn't fit. So either they were a little off on some of their dates, or who knows, I hadn't had this car since it was brand new, so who knows what somebody's changed. But they came with the right part, so that's all that matters. As far as looks, I mean, fit to finish looks nice. You know, it looks just as nice as an OEM piece. But yeah, so we're gonna have to, like I said, swap over our top hats. So first thing we're gonna have to do is take the one off our stock strut. This is a compressed spring. It is under a load, so this will have to be compressed with a tool before we can take loose our top nut. If you just try to take it off now, it will shoot off. This thing will fly apart, and you may lose your head or bad stuff. So I have 2 different styles of compressors. This style, I have this style. I use them depending on what spring I have. One works good for small springs, one works good for bigger springs. But either way, I'm gonna go ahead and throw a set on here. Let's see if I can get them compressed. Like so. Go ahead and throw a little bit of tension on it. Want to do too much on one side at a time. You want to tighten one side down a little bit and come back to the other side. The way you can tell if you've got it compressed enough is I can take and move the spring loosely on the strut. That lets me know that there's almost no tension on this top strut mount. So now we'll just gotta take our nut loose. So we'll need to, sometimes you can get lucky and hit it with the impact and it'll come loose, but usually you end up having to hold the shaft with an Allen while you take the nut loose. So yeah, once you've got the tension off the spring, Kind of want to loosen up this top nut, and I want to take and put an Allen key inside to keep the shaft from turning, or else the whole thing will just spin and the nut will never come off. So again, we've got it broke loose, and you can already tell that there's no tension on the spring. So now what's going to happen is your spring and top plate slide right off your strut. Be careful on this because it's a bearing plate, so make sure you don't lose any of these. Like the one I did drop, I made sure I cleaned any dirt, contaminants off. I'm going to come through here and re-grease these before I reassemble it. But I'm just going to turn this all the way down for right now. That's going to make it easier for us to reassemble. That way there won't be any tension on the top hat. I'm going to do it like this. That way this bearing plate doesn't fall apart. I'm just going to turn the spring up a little bit. That way it holds just enough tension on this bearing plate where it doesn't fall apart. Our new nut. We're going to put it together the same way it came apart, which is with a wrench and an Allen key. Now we've got our assembled strut assembly, and you can see how this bearing plate works. How this is stationary, and when you turn the car, the rest of it rotates. That just lets the car turn without any binding. But yeah, this is ready to go in here. Okay, now we're going to working on our rear struts. So the first thing we got to do is, same as the front ones, get our spring compressed. Okay, so now we're ready to take our nut loose. Give it a little lube. There we go. Okay, so some struts will have a lot of different components. So usually what I like to do is, as I'm taking them off, I orient them so I can tell exactly how what came apart. Okay. All right, so we can lay that to the side. Another thing to mention, not so much when you got a strut that has, you know, where they've ground the springs flat like this one, but when you've got they're round all the way through, make sure when you put them together, you can see there's usually a groove in here where the end of the spring will sit, and the lighting's not very good right here, but you always want to make sure you line that back up right. And we'll still do it here, even though, like I said, it's not really a huge concern. So there, oops, got that. Now we'll put our top hat. We'll put that, and we'll put our new Okay, tightened up. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna, just like the front, I'm just gonna set the purchase here to where there's just a little bit, just pretty much just making it where the springs don't move. All right, this one's ready to go in. Get our strut put in place, put our three upper mount bolts in. So I just get the top bolt started, and once I get everything kind of in place, I'll come back to these. Okay, so something I'm not sure if I talked about earlier is the mounting bolts. So this is the stock mounting bolt for that holds the strut to the spindle. You got two bolt holes there. This one we're going to retain in the bottom hole. This is going to be our new one for the upper hole. This is what you call a camber bolt or an offset bolt, whatever you want to call it. And what this does is allows you to adjust camber. And how it does it is, so if you notice, this part on the bolt is offset. It's shaped kind of like an egg, oval shape. I'm probably not focusing too well right now. So what it does is when you put it in, when you rotate this, it's kind of like a cam lobe. It'll kind of either push the strut out, causing positive camber, or push it in, causing negative. Also, you've got a washer here that goes on it, and depending on how you orient this washer depends on if you're going to get positive or negative camber. I'm going to go ahead and get it mocked up, and then I'll give you a close-up on it and kind of show you how it works. So the top bolt is the new one, the bottom bolt is the old one. So if you watch, it's probably hard to tell, but you can see it a little bit. As I rotate it, how it slides the spindle out until you get to a point where it's maxed out. And that's where I'm going to start at, is maxed out. And that's probably where I'm going to end up with the amount of drop I've got on this. It's probably going to take every bit of positive camber that I can get to get this thing close to stock spec as far as camber goes. So I'm going to go ahead and max it out and torque it down because I'm not anticipating changing it. So now we just need to snug up our top mounting bolts. Only thing left to do is hook up our outer tie rod to our spindle. Put that on. Our castle nut. Okay, tighten it up, line up our hole for our cotter pin. Bend mine down like that. The upper one I like to bend into the okay, so we're ready to put our strut back in. So the first thing we gotta do is jump inside the car. As I showed you on disassembly, is the two nuts in the trunk well. We'll come back and button up the bottom side. Next thing I'm going to do is go ahead and start bolting up my new upper control arm. Using the original hardware. Raise this up a little. Okay. Start this one. Put in our lower strut. Oh, so we just gotta raise this a little more so that lines up. And let's see, we got a little further to go. There we go. And we're done on the rear. So yeah, top bolts are tight, bottom bolts tight, control arms tight, and make sure you hook up the sway bar end link if you disconnected that. And yeah, that's pretty much gonna do it. So I'm gonna go ahead and throw the wheels on, test fit everything. Once I get it kind of dialed in, then I'll let you see the final results on it. It's the following day. I'm back out here. Got the car done last night. Got kind of tired, so I didn't finish the video, but I had to put the wheels on, test fit a few times. I had to make a few adjustments, camber adjustments, and things like that. So the rear passenger side, I had to a little more negative because I had to make it a little more negative. It was rubbing the quarter panel on the front. I done an eyeball alignment on the toe and the front. Then I had added so much positive camber, try to correct any negative camber with the counter bolts in the front, and being how low it is, that trying to eyeball my toe in the front, I actually pretty much ran out of thread on the tie rods, or if I didn't completely run out, I was very thin as far as thread count on there. So I actually had to check the front back up and dial the camber back in a little more negative. That way it would free up a little bit of tie rod. That way I could have a safe amount of tie rod between the inner and outer threaded in. So I don't have to worry about it coming loose or anything, breaking. So I'll know more once I get on the alignment machine, because there's a certain amount of camber that I'm okay with arrange, and if I can't get it where I want without leaving me enough tie rod to work with, then either I'll just have to run it negative, or I've actually found some extended outer tie rods, because these are really short. The extended ones will give us a lot more range of adjustment, and that way we'll be able to get it where we want it, and without sacrificing any safety as far as because I mean, I want to have, you really need to have at least half an inch of thread in your tie rods to be safe. So, but we'll see. I'll dial it in best I can for now, and then if I need to, I'll order the extended outers. So I'm gonna go ahead and show you the car. I'm gonna go ahead and measure it real quick. Since we measured it before, we'll measure it after and see how much of a difference we're looking at. Yeah, at the front we at 23. Back we are at 23. So yeah, I can't even remember what it was. I think it was, I forgot. So, but anyway, it's quite a bit lower. The back is almost tuck and tire. So yeah, let me let you check it out. So yeah, the front's sitting pretty well on the tire. The rear is tucking a little bit. But yeah, I'm happy with the look of it. I took it around, around the block, and The ride is a good bit stiffer than stock, but it's not unbearable. It's really not that bad. It's not bouncy or anything like that. It's just a little stiffer, which, you know, just gives it kind of a sporty, you know, more feel to it. It's really not that bad. Hit bumps and it absorbs it pretty well. So, you know, I'll know once I get alignment done and I put some miles on, I'll know. But for right now, it's not bad, especially for the money. I'm gonna get the alignment done next couple of days here. If possible, I'm gonna try my best to, if I've got time, and to be able to record the process. So you just be on the lookout for that. And thanks for watching.